Hello, witches. Welcome to the 3-day event for Samhain. Today is October 29th. We meet again tomorrow and, of course, on Samhain. I decided to do these 3 days of Samhain because it is the witches' most important Sabbath on our calendar. October, Witchtober, the season of the witch. This is big. This is a month just for witches. October is a month just for witches. So if you are a witch, I'm speaking to you. If you are considering becoming a witch, I am also speaking to you. If you are not a witch, if you're not interested in being a witch, then this message is not for you. Because this broadcast for the first day, October 29th, is going to be some real talk. No filtered, no censored, no beating around the bush, just keeping it all the way real. Now, you may not like my delivery, but everything I am going to say is true nonetheless. So you definitely have to have thick skin when viewing my broadcast because I am uncensored. I am unfiltered. I keep it all the way where I tell it like it is. No, I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you about myself so that you are not surprised by anything you hear from me. Hikate told me to do these 3 days of Samhain. For those of you who don't know, Hikate is the queen of witches. I am a devotee of Hikate. She instructed me to do these 3 days of Samhain. So that's why we are here on October 29th, the first night. Tomorrow we meet again, and we meet again on the actual date Samhain. I'm excited. Halloween, Samhain. Halloween is my favorite American holiday. Samhain is my favorite Sabbath, the favorite day on our calendar. I have always wanted my birthday to be on Halloween, Samhain, but I got pushed to November. Okay? But that's my favorite holiday. That's my favorite day on our calendar as witches. Samhain, Halloween. We know already, we have already established that Halloween and Samhain are not the same holiday, but I am going to go through it again tonight. I also have one ritual every single night of these 3 nights that I'm going to perform for you. We have one tonight, one ritual tonight, one ritual tomorrow night, and one ritual for the actual day of Samhain, the witches' New Year. Samhain is the time when the veil between the living and the dead is at its thinnest. It's the time to communicate with our ancestors and loved ones that have, and our pets that have passed away before us. So let's get right into it. First of all, thank you for joining me here live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thanks for taking time out of your morning, your afternoon, your evening to join me for these 3 nights of celebrating Samhain, the most important day on the witches' calendar, October 31st. Let's get right into it. So Samhain means summer's end. It's a little bit cold now, but not too cold. You know, I'm from New York, so it gets cold, real cold in the time of Thanksgiving. It might even snow, but winter in New York can be like, wow, like, damn, it's cold as shit outside. So Samhain is the end of the summer months. It is the official end of the summer months. Halloween means holy night. Halloween means holy night. Well, it is a holy night for us as witches, as it is the most important day on our calendar. Samhain falls on the 31st of October every year. There has been times when groups of people have tried to change the date because these people rather have Halloween on a Saturday or have it on a Friday because the kids don't have school. All of those petitions to change the dates of Halloween has been exhausted and has failed, rightfully so. Listen, you're not going to take the 31st of October away from witches. You are not going to take the 31st of October away from witches. These are Christians, Christian nationalists doing these things. That's the truth. It is the largest Sabbath on our calendar. Samhain is the largest celebration, the most important day. I cannot stress that enough. The most important day on our calendar. Millions of witches, either known witches or witches that are still in the broom closet, will be celebrating this incredibly powerful day. Millions of children will be going trick-or-treating. As witches, Samhain is a day to honor the dead. Let me tell you something. Witches don't worship the dead. Witches honor the dead. There's a major difference. Witches honor the dead. Witches do not worship the dead. Okay? The dead is never to be worshipped. The dead is never to be worshipped. They can be honored. They can be honored. The difference between worshiping and honoring the dead is just this. When you worship the dead, you are replacing them with real people in your life that actually can help you physically. Yes, the dead can help you, but there's a limit on what they can do. Honoring your ancestors or honoring your loved ones or pets that have passed away before you is acknowledging their role that they have played in your life, that has changed your life in a positive way. And witches know that the dead does have limitations. So when the veil between the living and the dead is so it's easier to communicate with loved ones that have passed away. And with that being said, let me just say this. Everyone you see in costume on October 31st is not alive as you and I. Some people that you see in costume on October 31st is actually dead. They are ghosts, spirits that have passed through the veil and come into our world. Even in Christianity, it is accepted that there is just a veil between the living and the dead. Just a veil. But on October 31st, it is at its thinnest. Some ghosts, because ghosts are real, because we know that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be changed. We know this, all right? For a ghost to appear as solid as you and I, that takes an incredible amount of energy. That takes an incredible amount of energy. So if someone seems cold, physically cold, they may actually be deceased. They may actually be deceased. And I feel like October 31st will be the first time for many new witches to have experience with ghost spirits. Let me tell you this. Ghost spirits, they are the same thing. Ghost spirits, whichever one you want to call them, they're the same thing. So when, especially in October, was the time when our ancestors, especially those who have a pagan family background, were starting to get a little bit antsy. They were worrying about having enough food, worrying about having enough grain, do we have a equal number of male and female in our animal farm to breed in the coming spring? All of these questions must be answered by October 31st. Do you have enough food for the winter months? If you happen to own a farm, do you have an equal amount of male and female so that they can reproduce? To have more animal workers for your farm in the spring? All of these questions need to be answered before October 31st. Even now, you see people stocking up on food, stocking up on wood, checking their animals, making sure their animals are healthy enough to survive the winter. But because like I just said, winter in New York can be unforgiving. Winter in New York can be horrific. It gets cold. Sometimes Niagara Falls here in New York freezes all the way. Sowing is also a great time if you feel comfortable. Only if you feel comfortable, okay? Listen, that's important. Sowing is a great time to include friends and family that are understanding of you being a witch, to include in your rituals. But only friends and family members that are accepting of you being a witch. Only friends and family who are accepting of you being a witch should you allow to, watch you do witchcraft. Only friends and family that are accepting of you being a witch should you allow to watch you perform witchcraft. On Samhain, just like Halloween, we do carve jack-o'-lanterns. When it comes to carving jack-o'-lanterns, truly speaking, you can use any vegetable to carve a face into it if you happen to be artistic. Like for me, I don't carve pumpkins. Because I'm not good at it. I can't carve a pumpkin. I'm not artistic. I'm a good writer, but I'm not good with making like actual art out of a vegetable. Or really, we know that a pumpkin is really a squash. I can't do that. You can also make your own mask, your own costume, because listen, it's a lot of money to buy a costume that you are only going to wear one night of the year. I used to save my costume from Halloween and just wash it and wear it the next year. That's what I did, because it's expensive. Those costumes in Party City and Spirit Halloween, those costumes are expensive. Freak. $60-$80 for a costume that you are going to just wear one night of the year? No. You can decorate your altar if you are a witch celebrating Samhain. If you are a witch celebrating Samhain, you can decorate your altar in memory of your ancestors and past that have passed away before you. You would do this by putting out pictures of them, putting out momentums of them. You can even visit them at graveyard cemeteries. A word about that: most cemeteries, most graveyards are closed on Halloween for obvious reasons, because you always have those groups of people that try to ruin it for everybody else. The graveyard keeper, the person in charge of the cemetery, is not stupid. They know that people go to these places on Halloween, Samhain, just to cause trouble, and that's why they most likely will be closed. if you do manage to make it there on Halloween, Samhain, you can clean up your loved one's grave. You can put flowers on their grave. You can put what is known as a grave blanket on their grave. You can leave mementos. Now listen, when it comes to leaving mementos at the cemetery, you can't leave everything there. Okay? You can't leave like weapons. You can't leave candles there. I would not do that. You cannot have a picnic there. You cannot. It won't work. You will be obsolete if you try to have a picnic at the cemetery on Halloween. You will be obsolete. And you shouldn't be doing that anyway. So don't do that. But every graveyard that I've seen has been closed on Halloween. But you can go anytime in October. You can go anytime in October. You can also do some divination by scouring. That's when you light a candle with a bowl of water and you ask your chosen god or goddess to give you visions of the future or give you answers to problems that you're going through. Scouring means, let me just read it here. Scouring means letting your eyes see shapes or forms in an object like a bowl of water or a crystal ball. This also allows communication with the spiritual world. You can, scour by using a bowl of water, by using a crystal ball, or a mirror. But that's all up to you. But you can't just really use a bowl of water with a candle. If you have that sight, like I have that sight. I'm psychic. I know the future. I know the present. I know the past. I just always had that ability. On Samhain, if you are a witch, you might find yourself much more intuitive. Much more. Even now at the live broadcast, more psychic. More just being in the know. You just know things. Let me go over a little bit about the background of Samhain. Now, Samhain has other names. Samhain is also known as the third harvest, also known as Samhain, Day of the Dead, All Hallow Mass, what else? And Shadowfest. So those are the names that Samhain is also known as. Those names again is Third Harvest, Samhain, Day of the Dead, Old Hallowmas, and Shadowfest. Those are the names that also follow Samhain. There are 3 pronunciations of Samhain, and they are Samhain, Samhain, and Samhain. I will say that again. The 3 pronunciations for Samhain are Samhain, Samhain, and Samhain. Those are the 3 pronunciations for Samhain, the Witch's New Year. Samhain is one of the spirit nights. The second spirit night is Beltane on May 1st. So on the time of Beltane on May 1st and Samhain on October 31st, spirits, ghosts are traveling through on their way to Summerland. Summerland is our afterlife. Summerland is our witches. Summerland is our afterlife, okay? It is the pagan afterlife. This Sabbath, this most important day on our calendar, used to be known as Feast of the Dead. Samhain used to be known as Feast of the Dead, where people would leave out food on their stoop, on their doorsteps, for the spirits who passed through the veil between the living and the dead to not have them come in their house, to not bother them while they were in their homes. Sometimes we would, and sometimes they do, sometimes they did, and sometimes we still do today. We leave a single candle, either orange, black, or white, because as witches we know that white can replace any color candle that we don't have. So we leave it in a window to help guide the spirit, the ghost of our loved one or our pet on to the next life. And we also leave one candle in the window to give them confirmation that they are welcome. Let me say this. The misconception, the lie basically, linked to this celebration, linked to Samhain by the Christian church. Oh, here we go, the Christian church. Yeah, I'm getting into it, all right? By the Christian church led its members of that same church dressing up in scary costumes and displaying and pushing on jack-o'-lanterns, all in an effort to protect themselves from what they thought were evil spirits. Okay, so when is sometimes celebrated throughout the month of October, but heightened supernatural activity happens on October 31st. So this means that if you can't celebrate Samhain on the 31st, you can celebrate Samhain anytime in October. Anytime in October, you can celebrate Samhain. You can celebrate Samhain anytime in October and just say the 31st of October for Halloween. Because like I said, Halloween, Samhain are not the same. We as witches observe Samhain. Most witches, I have to say this. Most witches, not all, but most witches celebrate Samhain on October 31st to November 1st, and some witches celebrate Samhain to the nearest new or full moon. I will say that again. Some witches celebrate Samhain on October 31st to November 1st, and then you have some witches who celebrate Samhain to the nearest full or new moon. Other witches celebrate Samhain a little bit later, near November 6th, and this is because this is to coincide with the This is to coincide with the astronomical midpoint of autumn equinox and winter solstice on December 21st. December 21st is the official day that winter begins. Witches who live in the southern hemisphere celebrate Samhain in accordance with their autumn. Witches who live in the southern hemisphere celebrate Samhain sometime in late April or early May. Okay? Now listen. With Christianity, listen very carefully. With Christianity dominating most of the known world, Samhain took on Christian names such as All Saints Day and Day of Hallows on November 1st to commemorate Christian saints and Christian martyrs. We know as witches that All Souls Day is celebrated in Mexico that is a combination of Mexican traditions and Christian values. I don't even know how that works. I don't understand how Mexican traditions and Christian values mix. That's a little strange. That's a little weird, okay? On November 2nd, Christianity shares a lot of ancient pagan practices of remembering and honoring the dead, but keep in mind that witches did it first. Witches celebrated Samhain first, not the Christians. Christians made Samhain Christian by calling it All Saints Day and Day of Hallows to try to, dominate over paganism, to try to dominate over witches. And it has not worked because I don't see much about All Saints Day and Day Hallows. I don't see a whole lot of that, okay? But some people do. It's just another attempt of Christians overreaching. It's just another way of Christians overreaching. It's just another way of Christians doing too much. Halloween and Samhain are not the same. I really have to stress that out, okay? Halloween and Samhain are not the same. They both may fall on the 31st of October, but they're totally different. Halloween is more public and family friendly. Halloween is more public and family friendly, and it's publicly celebrated in schools and in our communities. Halloween is for people to creatively express themselves on the one night of the year when they can. Dress up in costumes, go trick-or-treating, carve pumpkins, watch scary movies, bar for apples, pull pranks, do tricks, going to haunted houses, and going to Halloween parties. Samhain is the witch's new year. It's the most important year on the witch's calendar, all right? It is for witches who want to communicate with loved ones and pets that have passed away before them. Samhain is also a good time to make reconciliation if you were in the wrong. For many witches, Samhain on October 31st will be their last time to say goodbye to a loved one or a friend that has passed away before them. Now, there is no guarantee that your loved one, ancestor, or pet will show up. And I can't even give you an answer as to why they may not show up. That's their decision. You can't force your ancestor or your loved one to show up, or your pet to show up. Why? Because the living has no control over the dead. The dead has no control over the living. It's their choice. So Samhain is mostly associated with the end of the growing season. Like I just mentioned, it's when people start thinking long and hard about if they have enough food for the coming winter. Are their animals going to survive the winter? Days after Samhain, the days are going to get much shorter. The nights are going to get longer. The air is going to get colder, so we need our big jackets on. We need our Timberland boots on because it's about to snow. A lot of rituals done around Samhain, and I do mean done around Samhain because, like I just said, you can celebrate Samhain anytime in October, okay? It can be a time to bring closure, to get reconciliation with a loved one or an ancestor that has passed away before you. An ancestor is someone that you knew in life. Your ancestor is not someone from 100 years ago. Your ancestor is someone that you knew personally in life when they were alive. Meaning you actually had a relationship, you actually had a connection with them. So you can write letters to them. You can try to communicate with them, which I'm going to get into tomorrow on the 30th. Tomorrow is the 30th of October. And please don't forget that Samhain is also a time to celebrate life. Your ancestor, even your pet that has gone on into, what's the name of the place? Rainbow Bridge, would not want you to be grieving so long. You know how many people are still grieving for somebody that died 50, 75 years ago? Yeah, it's going to hurt. But it won't hurt all the time though. It will not hurt all the time. So I gave you enough information for part 1 for Samhain. Now let's get to this ritual that I'm so hyped to share with you. This ritual is to get people to back off, to leave you alone, to stop bothering you, to get off your back, to back off, to back down, and to never return into your life. So let me show you how I'm going to do that ritual right now. Alright, witches, so I'm going to show you the first ritual for our 3 days of Samhain. This ritual is all about making people leave you alone. Witches have a lot of enemies. Witches have a lot of enemies. A lot of people don't like witches for whatever reason. So I'm going to show you a ritual to keep these people from bothering you, out of your face, make you back down, make them back down, make them back off, and make them back away for good. So the items that you need for this ritual is your favorite essential oil. Now listen, if you don't have essential oil, you can use virgin olive oil or extra virgin olive oil or vegetable oil. Any natural oil you can find. I know that essential oil can be very expensive, and I tell witches all the time to make sure to stick to their budget. So I have my chosen essential oil here. You need a frankincense incense. You don't have to burn the whole incense. You can burn what you want and then save the rest. So you need a frankincense incense stick. You need a pair of scissors. A pair of scissors. You need basil, bay leaves, basil. Either one will work. You need a red candle. Remember, if you can't find the color candle that you want, you can use white to replace it. But try to find a red candle. But if you can't find a red candle, you can use white as a replacement. You need a lighter. You need a tiger's eye stone. Now listen, if you don't have tiger's eye, you can use clear quartz crystal to replace any crystal that you do not have. Clear quartz crystal is available everywhere. So if you don't have tiger's eye, you can use clear quartz crystal as a replacement. You need a cup of rice. You need a cup of rice. I would suggest you get white rice, not yellow rice, not Spanish rice. Try to get white rice. You need a bowl or something to put all this in. So I'm going to use this. Because remember, you also have to put the scissors in there too. So this spell is about making your enemies back off from you. Stay away from you. Get out of your face. Back off, back down, back away. Because it's not in the interest of any witch to be somebody's punching bag, to be abused. You also need the handwriting of the person. Try to get this. You need something personal from this person. Something personal from this person. You can just write down their name or their address from home or their address from work, but you really need to try to get something personal. That will work. The person's name, last name, address, work address will work, but it won't be as strong if you actually had the person's handwriting, because you need something personal. So try. If you can't, then go ahead and use that person's name, last name, address, home, or work address. So first I need to burn. Let me get my my incense holder. So I need to light my incense holder. No, my incense stick. Sorry. Let me just make room. Light this. Let this stay lit for a couple of seconds. Then blow it out. Okay, then put it in the incense holder. And think about your enemy. Think about this enemy here. Now you're going to take your container or your bowl. And fill it up with the cup of rice. And then you say, each grain is a day in my life you lose access to. Each grain is a day in my life you lose access to. Each grain is a day in my life you lose access to. Then you place the person's handwriting or their name, first name, last name, work address, home address on top of the rice. And then you say, this is your hand that will never rise against me again. You say it 2 more times. This is your hand that will never rise against me again. This is your hand that will never rise against me again. Then you take your basil or bay leaves. I think it has this protection thing on here. I hope not. I'm gonna have to poke a hole in here. Let me see. Yeah, it has that protection thing, that barrier. Right. And remember, you can use bay leaves if you don't have the chopped up basil. So you take your basil and sprinkle it. When you add the tiger's eye on top of the paper, and then sprinkle it with basil. Then you take your pair of scissors that you have, open up the scissors, place it in here like that. Then you take your red or white candle. Ow, just burned myself with the incense. I'm okay though. And you stick the candle in here, and then you light it. No, first I have to anoint the candle with the oil first. So I take my essential oil and just add 3 drops. Now I light the red candle. This lighter is so stubborn. All right, got it lit. Then lastly, you say, stay away from me, enemy, for forever. You have left me alone. You say this 3 times. Stay away from me, enemy, forever. You have left me alone. Stay away from me, enemy, forever. You have left me alone. Now you let the candle burn all the way out, and then you leave everything else. You let the candle and the incense stick burn all the way out, and then you take the container, you take this container here, and you put it where you sleep, like in your bedroom, and you keep it for as long as this person continues to bother them. They will feel sharpness, like scissors going through their bodies. If they don't leave you alone, they will continue to feel pain, like somebody stabbing them with a pair of scissors and then twisting it in their liver, in their kidney, in their lung, in their heart, until they back off, back away, back down, back away from you, leave your life for good to not return again. So this is ritual number 1 for Samhain on October 29th. Be sure to turn on notifications to be alerted when I start broadcasting tomorrow night on the 30th, All Hallows Eve. Thank you, witches, for taking time out of your very busy schedule to join me here live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube for these 3 nights of Samhain. And I will see you tomorrow night at the same time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I now release you into the rest of your night, witches. Goodbye.